Hey everyone, it's Jack from WhatCulture.com, and to be quite frank, I'm a little bit devastated to be back at work after 2 glorious days off when I've done nothing but sleep, eat and practice my sick parkour skills. But what better way to get back into the swing of things than by taking a look at the go-home show for Survivor Series. It's SmackDown Live and its ups and downs. The night started with an authority promo, unsurprisingly, but it was quite short, to be fair to Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon, so let's skip ahead to The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler, and it was a great match. I'm definitely giving this one an up. The pair work incredibly well together. You can tell that they're great friends on the road, as we've seen in Ride Along, and you can tell that chemistry really carries over into the ring. There was one particularly fantastic sequence, which I've tweeted out. It's just so many moves and reversals and counters, and one of the best comments I saw on that tweet was I wish there were as many reversals as this in WWE 2K17. So there you go. That's quite a high praise for such a fantastic sequence in the match. It was a great match from top to bottom, but hit the next one. I'm going to have to give the result of the match a down for 2 reasons. First of all, does Dolph Ziggler losing the belt on TV kind of take some of the meaning away from that career-saving title victory he had a few weeks ago? And secondly, because I was really looking forward personally to Sami Zayn versus Dolph Ziggler at Survivor Series. It's now, of course, The Miz versus Sami Zayn, which could be very good, but at the same time, they could have at least made it a triple threat, I guess, for the belt, or just something. I was really personally hyped for Ziggler versus Zayn. Unfortunately, we've got Miz v Zayn. Still a decent match. Don't agree with the result, it's a down for me. Next we had Kalisto winning a sort of squash match against the NXT superstar Oney Lorcan, making his main roster debut. It wasn't really a squash match though, was it? Because Lorcan got in a lot of offense and then Kalisto just sort of took control, hit the Salida del Sol and won the match. So I'm going to give it an up. It was only about 2 minutes long. It was a good aggressive debut from Lorcan, even though he lost in the end. And at least they're doing something interesting with Kalisto. And I will add, when we went to the house show a couple of weeks ago in Newcastle, Kalisto was probably the most motivated guy on the whole show. So well done, Kalisto. Hopefully there are better things in the future. This match gets an up, and I'm not doing that take again because it was quite long. Just leave it in, it's fine. Now we get the women's match, and I'm going to give it a down, but if I could give it like 4 downs, I would, unfortunately. Nikki Bella versus Carmella, and just everything went to shit. All the storylines have gone. Everything's been forsaken in favour of having a cohesive Survivor Series team that everyone thinks is going to work well together, and then probably at the show itself, at the pay-per-view, there'll be ructions. But there were so many things wrong with this segment. First of all, you had Nikki Bella being disqualified for attacking Charlotte, who was in the crowd, rather than doing anything to her opponent. Then you had a big beatdown. All the Raw women came out, and even Bayley was there, kicking the shit out of Nikki Bella, like 5-on-1. It wasn't a very Bayley thing to do. And then Carmella went against everything we thought that she was by saving Nikki, and then everything just got a bit messy. And as harsh as it sounds, I did have a good chuckle at Nia Jax as well, because she ran towards Becky and Becky moved and Nia just ploughed through the barrier. I can see what they were trying to do, but Becky, you moved way too early. You moved way too early. You've made Nia look like a f***ing idiot. That's a down, I'm afraid. I should explain, Richard's off, so Phil is editing the video, and I've just apologised for swearing, because every time you swear, the editor has to bleep it out. But then we have pointed out, at least it's not King Ross, you know, who I imagine is a nightmare with his, oh, it's f***ing trying to. Next we had a massive tag match. I think it was like 5 teams on 5 teams or so. All the SmackDown Survivor Series lads versus all the rejects, essentially. The result was right, you know, the actual wrestlers who are going to be on the pay-per-view won, but at the same time, nothing happened in this match of any relevance, really. It was probably the most boring part of the show, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to give this one a down as well. There was a comment once that was like, it was like, why is Jack always afraid to give it down? He's always like, I'm afraid I'm going to have to give it a down. And then it was like, stop being such a pussy, Jack. And I was like, oh my God. Next up we have the Cutting Edge, and while I was happy to see Edge back, I am going to have to give this one a down as well. The downs are really trashing the ups this week. I'm just a bit burned out with segments like these, just ramming the fact down our throat that the members of each team don't really get on as well as the authority figures would like them to. It's been like 3 or 4 weeks now of this, maybe even longer on SmackDown, because they haven't had a pay-per-view to break things up. I just a bit sick of it. And even the presence of Edge, who's one of my favourites of all time, I love Edge, even the presence of Edge couldn't really save this one. It gets a down, but the presence of someone else obviously turns it into an up, and we'll see what that is. Now, it was the Undertaker, of course it was. Undertaker, he gets an up because he came out all badass and he kind of defied everyone's expectations of what we think the Deadman's going to do. He said that I'm not going to be defined by WrestleMania, and then he channeled his 1980s granddad hip-hop rapper by saying, I'm going to be taking souls and digging holes. Oh yeah, Undertaker's, he's back, and he threatened the members of the SmackDown Survivor Series team and said, if you don't win, you're going to have me to deal with. And that raises a curious question. What does that mean? Is he going to challenge AJ Styles for the WWE World Championship? I'd quite like to see that match, because if anyone can bring the best out of Undertaker once again, it's AJ Styles. But yeah, for me, that segment gets an up. It ended SmackDown on a high, but unfortunately, in general, it was a bad week for SmackDown. I can't wait for Survivor Series, not just because the matches look quite good, but because the build has been so tedious, and I'm just glad to see it over with and for the regular storylines to commence again. So thanks very much for watching. I've been Jack from WhatCulture.com, back again after my lovely 2-day holiday. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack_the_jobber, and I'll see you soon.
Hello, magazine called Wrestling. That's right, it's time for issue 3 of Wrestling, this time focusing on the 100 greatest wrestlers of all time. That's been decided by our votes, wrestlers' votes, and of course, your votes. There's a big feature on the practice of blading, and of course, a How WWE Should Have Booked written by this guy. This time, How WWE Should Have Booked the anonymous Raw general manager. Not only that, but there are 5 covers of WhatCulture Wrestling 3 to collect out there. Can you catch them all? I don't care. Wrestling! As ever, you can pre-order the magazine by going to shop.whatculture.com.